Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel, and for the first time this season, welcome to Fans React Friday. I don't think I could have picked a better roster if I tried to join me. I've got a group of lovely gentlemen joining me. Mr. Ben Carr, how are you, mate?
Oh, I'm very well done, very well. How are you?
I'm okay. We've got Johnny Hawley. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not so bad, man. Not so bad. Glad to be back.
And you may be wondering, well, Matthew's looking a lot younger than he did on his Instagram. Well, due to jet lag and a massive flight back from America, he's unfortunately had to drop out. But I think we got the best replacement we could in Mr. Gary P. How are you today?
Hey guys, I'm good, thank you. Good form.
Just before we get into the normal stuff, I'll jump on the bandwagon, as we say. Quick congratulations to the Lionesses and the four former Sunderland players, which are Beth Mead, of course, Jill Scott, Lucy Bronze, and Demi Stokes, the last of which lost an FA Cup final for Sunderland and the European Championships in the same year. So it's good to see her bounce back from such hardships. It's truly a Sunderland curse. The minute you're not in a Sunderland shirt, you go and win something major. So good luck to congratulations to her. But let's just get straight into it. The Coventry game on Sunday, it was obviously nice to be back in the Championship at home on Sky Sports. Massive display from the Spirit of 37. From what we could have thought, a lot of speculation before the game of, are we going to do well? Are we going to carry the form of pre-season or last season into our first game? Ben, I'll start with you. Going into the game, how do you think we were going to do? And did you think that the draw was a fair result?
I think it probably was. You know, watching the match, I think we were in it for about half an hour, sort of first half. Played some blinding stuff, to be fair. Was really impressed first half an hour. And then just sort of then after, we just really just looked like we'd just come up from League One into the Championship. It was just like wave after wave of attack from them, wouldn't it? I mean, if we nicked the 3 points, I probably would have said it was an unfair result. I don't think we did enough to win the game, but obviously conceding in the last 10 minutes, you know, I think that'll probably be the most disappointing thing for us and probably Alex Neil as well, that we weren't able to see the result out. But I think it was, you know, it was a good game. It was nice to be back. Like you say, the crowd, the atmosphere was fab. So a little bit of not such a baptism of fire. It could have been a lot worse. I don't think I probably would have been surprised, you know, if it ended 4-1 to them, to be honest. So, you know, take a point, move on. A good point in the Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny, what did you think of the game? Obviously, you were there, caught up with me and Ben. Gary, we just unfortunately missed you before the game, but what did you think of it, mate?
Yeah, tough to call, wasn't it? Because, you know, we've been in League One for 4 seasons, which is just a depressing statement. But it kind of means that we, you know, I don't think many of us really know much about many of the teams in this league. You're kind of just going off past league tables and stuff like that to get a gauge of where teams are at. So obviously, you look before the game, you see Coventry finished 12th. I think they were only 6 points off sneaking into playoffs. So on paper, you'd say a good test for the first game back. You wouldn't expect us to get battered. You wouldn't expect us to batter them or, you know, most teams in this league. I thought we started really brightly, and I was sort of quietly confident going in that we wouldn't get beat, but it doesn't really mean much when you're a Sunderland fan. I thought we started brightly on the front foot, which was nice to see. I said before the game, you know, I don't want us to just be really cagey and sort of go in already with the mindset of protecting something. I wanted us to go and attack, which we did. We definitely had the better of the first half, created better chances, created more chances. Obviously got the goal from a really nice bit of play all around, to be honest. I mean, the ball from Pritchard was brilliant. Little shimmy and run down the line from Gooch, and then really nice sort of flighted ball in, which I think sort of when it got headed in, you know, obviously everyone went a bit mental, and then sort of turned around at my dad and the other lad we were with, and we're kind of like, that Jack Clark who just scored that header there at the back post? Which I think they said after the game was something that Alex Naylor told them to work on. But, fair play. And then, like, echoing what Ben said, second half, obviously they came at us. And it's disappointing to concede late in the day, especially it was sort of a solo effort, really, wasn't it? It was a fantastic finish. And Patterson had no chance in goal. But I thought, disappointing the manner, the timing, more so than anything else. I think, a draw was a fair result. We'd have robbed them blind if we took the 3 points, really, the way the second half went. And it's worth mentioning as well, as good as the goal was, we did get off a couple of times with some sloppy play at the back. I remember Corey Evans gave a ball away at one point. There was a bit of a mix-up between, I think it was Patterson and Dan Neil. And they spurned a really, really good chance there, which most teams in this division are putting away. And that's them fine margins decide games. And luckily we rode our luck in the second half and took the point, which I'd have took before the game. So not too disappointed overall. Some good performances, iffy moments, but nice base to start the season.
Yep, spot on, in my opinion. I agree with you both where I thought first half we could have got more than a goal. I thought we could have maybe doubled, maybe even tripled if we're lucky our lead. But in the second half, we were just slightly unlucky. They just I think they just came out wanting it more in the second half. That's obviously no discredit to our team, but just from the minute the second half kicked off, it seemed that they were just more hungry to get into the game. And like you say, as much as it was a good goal, there was a few chances where they could have scored a few. But going into the game, like I said to you, I would have taken a draw all day because I just did not know what to expect. A new division, new teams that I've done absolutely no research on and haven't seen play in the flesh. So absolutely nothing to go off. But first half, I thought we played so well, playing lovely little maneuvers of football to get into certain spaces where I thought we could have scored a few goals from on a different day. But a point is a point at the end of the day. I was going to go to Gary, but he seemed to have wandered off somewhere. So if he returns, we'll just have to wait and see. But
the hazards of the car park.
Yeah, it's the chart. Is it really a fans react stream if Gary doesn't disconnect from the car park at least once?
Yeah.
So
give him 15 minutes, he'll be back. Yeah.
Oh yes.
It doesn't normally take me 15 minutes.
I'm trying to be optimistic for him, but he's an old man now.
Interested you say that now that he's gone, Ben. But
yeah, I wouldn't say it'd be real.
I'll while we wait for him, I'll ask both of you who your standout players were. Johnny, I'll come to you first.
I thought Pritchard in the first half, especially, thought running the show. Range of passing, it stood out last season. You should never have been in League One in the first place, in my opinion. But range of passing, the vision to see them passes, lovely touch. And I thought what sort of talked about a lot is he mucked in quite a lot defensively, put the yards in, tracking back, hassling people. Which the whole team did well in the first half. I think held the shape well and pressed. But I thought Pritchard sort of exemplified that. He was kind of the one man in the middle who was doing a bit of everything. Clark obviously played really well, showed some nice touches, bit of pace, obviously got the goal. Thought Stewart obviously didn't score, didn't have too many chances really, a couple of half chances. I thought his touch was good. He was not being given particularly a lot by the referee. Who had some interesting fashion choices with his hair. But yeah, I thought Stewart led the line well and didn't look out of place. So yeah, Pritchard sort of the standout. But it's not a player, but the standout thing from the performance I thought was that there wasn't really anyone on the pitch you'd pinpoint who started the game who looked like they were playing a level above where they should be, which I think is the worry that a lot of us would have had before the game, obviously untested at this level, the majority. But I don't think anybody looked like a League One player in a Championship team. I thought they looked like a solid outfit. So it's a long-winded way there of saying Pritchard stood out, Clark and Stewart special mentions, but everybody I was pleased with.
Yeah, I would agree. It's nice to see consistency from all of your players on the team for once. But we'll just have to see if that continues. Start how you mean to go on, as they say. Ben, what about you?
Yeah, I think touch on what Johnny said about Pritchard. I think he got the Sky Man of the match. I rewatched the match back and had a little reminisce. And, it looks so much different, doesn't it, when you watch it on the telly and when you're there at the match? It's just night and day, isn't it? You can get to see all the replays and that. So it was, a good game. Pritchard was very, very good. Didn't really look out of place. But for me, probably Ballard was my sort of standout. I think the way he sort of commanded, and to be fair, Danny, but I think they both had a good game. But Ballard, he just, I said to my dad, I said, you can tell that he's from the Arsenal Academy, just the way he, he's reading the game, passing, he's always looking forward. A better version of Callum Doyle, probably. So I'm excited.
Strong shout early doors.
Yeah, I know, but I think Ballard seems to have a little bit more consistency, should we say. I mean, other than the ref had an agenda against him, and any time he'd go in, he would flip in, give a foul against him. But yeah, and actually probably Gooch. Just mentioned to Gooch, I was very worried at him being at right back. I thought he'd get found out a few times, but he did well for the goal, didn't he? Fab ball across. But yeah, I don't think anyone was massively, thinking, oh, what's he doing on the pitch? Maybe Corey Evans. I thought he looked a little bit uncomfortable a couple of moments.
It's happening again.
No, I'm not saying that.
12 and a half minutes into the first one of this season, boys. Corey Evans, let's go. Go on. Starting as we mean to go on.
No, because look, I'm equally as quick to praise him as I would be to, put him down. But I think he probably knew that wasn't one of his better games in the Sunderland shirt. But no one, was massively, out of place, really, like you're saying. So yeah, they're my two main ones, probably Pritchard and Ballard.
Yeah, I'd say I'd have to agree with both. I thought, like you both said, Pritchard just showing what he did in League One, showing that he's got that range of passing, he's got that mentality, and he's arguably it's not arguably, he is one of the best players in our team. So when he went down in the second half, there was a bit of worry because we were like, oh, well, yeah, we've got options on the bench, but we need that depth. So especially with someone of his talent, we need to make sure that he's 100% fit all of the time. I thought personally, Ballard, I agree, yes. I think the Doyle claim we'll have to wait and see in the season how that turns out. But it is a fair comment. I'll give you that. But I thought he did look very defensively sound most of the time in the game. I thought he doesn't look.
Just super quickly on Ballard as well, while he's getting a lot of praise. I was listening just before. I was listening to the Roker Report podcast. Shout out to them. Looking forward to the game tomorrow. And they had a guy on who does like a whole championship podcast, and they've done for a few years. They know, everything there is to know about the championship as far as a fan's perspective goes. And that guest was saying that he put Ballard in the top 10 signings in the whole division so far this summer. Wow. He reckons he's that good. He said he was looking fantastic at Millwall last season, and he expected him to go on loan, not leave Arsenal permanently, and go to a playoff chasing team. So I think that speaks volumes about how solid the recruitment's looked so far, and like you've both pointed out, how good Ballard was against Coventry, and it seems like that's backed up by solid pedigree as well. So just heap more praise onto the boy so we can tear him down when he has a poor game in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, so far I thought even in pre-season he's shown hints of quality, so hopefully he does keep it up. I thought the two that stood out for me silently were, I thought in the first half, Gooch, despite the fact at right back, I would rather we played someone who is actually a right back, Trey Hume, obviously, but we'll get onto that later. I thought first half, I thought Gooch kind of stood his own, especially with his size and his stature, that you don't expect him to be winning every header and be challenging for everything. But I thought, to start with, he did look very sound in there, obviously getting the assist for Jack Clark. And then second half, he kind of got found out. The other one I'd have to say was Elliot Embleton. I thought that sometimes, like we said last season, just on his day, he can be a generational talent, but he just needs to have that confidence. We saw it at Wembley. We saw it plenty during the run-in last season. I thought just those tiny little nuggets of gold that you can produce in the game can make all the difference. But now that he's back, Gary, who would you say is your standout player or players from the game on Sunday?
Well, definitely Pritchard. I think that's agreed. He got man of the match on Sky, didn't he? And agreed what you were saying about Ballard. Really like the look of Ballard. I like the fact he's got the confidence to get right behind the striker as soon as he picks up the ball. So he's straight on them, doesn't give them any space. He seems to just be aware of what was going on around him the whole time. I suppose we haven't really seen him tested like set pieces and where we're maybe under the cosh for long periods. But those two are definite standout. I think what was interesting for me in the first half, and I know we had to change formation a bit in the second, but was the way Pritchard and Embleton were linking up. Because really it seemed to me that those two were playing behind Stewart because Clark was more of a wing back on the left. That those two were, I thought, looked great together. A lot of real quick passing. Really trying to get between the defenders at the back, get into that space just behind just ahead of their back four. And there might be something in that. I've thought before Pritchard and Embleton look a potentially good partnership. And I'd love to see that continue. I just think he realised second half he had to match their formation. He had to put a third man in midfield, which is why he brought O'Nien on. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of good things to take out of Sunday's game. It was just disappointing. I think we lost a little bit of confidence in the second half and start to panic a bit. Some of that might be down to fitness as well, which I'm sure Alex Neil's aware of and he'll work on. So yeah, mixed feelings. Start great, didn't end so great, but Coventry for me will be a top 10 team this season. So there's no shame in that whatsoever.
Well, before we get on to the next topic, I'll quickly jump in the live chat, see who's here. DJ Sizzler Watson, welcome back, boys. Seems like months. It does. It's good to be back. We've got Morgan Pickford is in the house. Get the rave on Wheel of Sun, and I'm pretty sure there's only one man that could be. Lauren Kenny, Honey95, Dave the Rave. Yep, there he is. What is fans are out without a little bit of Dave the Rave, eh? Ben Carr is in the live chat and he's on the live stream, so
I'm dual wielding.
a man of many talents. Gordon Seymour is in there. Main man Sean Middleton is also in the comments, living at large. Hopefully, I don't know if he's going to be going live from Ashton Gate, Sean. You'll have to answer that yourself, but there will be content from tomorrow's game, either before or after. Definitely after, I would imagine. David Joblin also in the comments. Sunderland's always been second best to commentary over the years. Unfortunately, I would have to agree with that. Gary, I'll stick with you because you were saying to us before we went live, you've got a little bit to talk about on this topic. On Monday morning, I believe it was Monday morning, there was a statement released by the club regarding away fans when Coventry scored. For people who aren't in the know somehow, Coventry fans were chucking flares and other sorts of missiles into our fans, which is obviously unacceptable. And the club came out with a statement. But Gary, I'll basically hand this over to you to say your piece, because I believe the boys and myself have been waiting all day for this. So take it away, Gary.
Full-scale rant about to come. Obviously, I'm sat in the sunshine, so maybe I've calmed down a bit since Tuesday. So I sit in the north stand. We saw the flare come down, and just along from me, a bloke picked up a bit of glass. It still had the Heineken label stuck to the front, and it looked as though that had come down as well. I was pretty pissed off. You know, I was there last time Coventry were up at the Stadium Light. I was there when Pompey were there. They were chucking things over the top as well. And here we are again, first game into the Championship. So pretty angry about it at the time, and got in touch with Steve Neal, the safety officer. Now, what I'll say first of all is Steve I've spoken to him on the phone, and I thought he was excellent. He's clearly disappointed about what happened. I mean, bitterly. You know, he's clearly a passionate football fan, but also passionate about his role. And Steve went through, 5 or 6 actions that have been taken on the back of Sunday's game. The other thing I did was try and get in touch with the EFL, and I've had a bit of dialogue with one of their supporters liaison guys. So here's the complaint from my point of view. Clearly, people shouldn't be able to get bottles into football grounds, nor should they be able to get pyrotechnics into football grounds, and they are searched, etc., etc. We all know that. Somehow those were evaded. What I didn't know is that we had only initially given Coventry 1,500 tickets, and the EFL basically forced Sunderland to give Coventry another 500. The reason we cut their allocation is because of past misbehaviour from their fans. So we'd taken quite a tough stance, only giving them 1,500, and we as a club were threatened with a fine by the EFL if we didn't increase that allocation. Now, to me, this makes the EFL look a bit daft, the behaviour of those Coventry fans. And then the other thing which really annoyed me on the back of that is the statement that came out from Coventry on Tuesday afternoon, which I know a lot of people will have seen. And I can't remember it word for word, but it goes something along the lines of, while they understand why Sunderland would release a statement, they felt as though it was highlighting what they described as a couple of isolated incidents in what was an overall, very successful match day operation. Now, the overall tone was one of trying to play it down and making out that Sunderland had a problem but Coventry didn't. And the 2 things I've just described to you, one with the EFL increasing their allocation, and 2, that statement from Coventry. If we look at those things in the context of the statement made 3 weeks ago, joint statement.
Oh.
No.
Well, just
no. It's just about to slide Coventry off.
I'm still here. I'm
just
about to slide Coventry off. I think.
Oh, they're toying with us now.
Tell me, are you still there, boys?
We are. Are you still there?
I am still here.
Right, good.
Magic.
So yeah, 3 weeks ago, joint statement, the FA, the Premier League and the EFL making a statement, and I think they've called it something like supporting the game, fans supporting the game, and after some of the shenanigans at the end of last season with pitch invasions, one thing and another, the EFL are supposed to be taking a strong stance on fan behaviour in stadiums, and here we are, Coventry undermining that stance, and the EFL themselves going against a team who, as far as I'm concerned, were taking a strong stance, and that's Sunderland by only giving them 1,500 tickets. And I'm pretty pissed off about both of them things, because it's almost like at the first time of asking, the EFL, as far as I'm concerned, have let our fans down. They should be basically having a word with Coventry about that statement, and they should be accepting that clubs, and it was obviously our advisory committee that decided on it to give them 1,500. They should be supporting that stance, not undermining it. And you know what? I think they'd do better by coming out and saying, actually, if there's any more of that this season, it won't just be Sunderland that's cutting your allocation, it'll be every club you visit. Because clearly the Coventry fans, despite the warnings, despite the threats, still 3 of them, and there's 3 of them, I understand, under investigation. 3 of them have gone in there. And yeah, it was a flare thrown, but it's also been confirmed 2 Heineken bottles were thrown over the side as well. Yeah. So it's bang out of order. I think our club's done as much as they can, really. There's clearly some actions in terms of searches, where people are seated, etc. Steve Neal talked to me about having stewards behind the fans on the back row, keeping an eye on them from that point of view. So there's things that the club can do, but overall, the EFL have got to actually. It's not good making joint statements saying what they're going to do if, in the very first weekend of the season, they let us down, and they are letting us down because they're letting down anybody who's in the North Stand below those Coventry fans. We've had it before, we don't need it again, and it's absolutely bang out of order. I know the club are looking at nets. It's been talked about before. I don't know whether that's a viable proposition or not. Steve Neal is looking into it, but Coventry and the EFL, for me, neither ends banging together. It's just not right. Not on.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think any of us could have put it better myself. And you mentioned there about the talk of nets, and it kind of feels like, from what we've seen on Twitter, the fans are either like, well, either put a net or bring them back down to the ball. Obviously, if we were to bring them back down to the ball, that should have been something that was consulted before season tickets were put on sale, so people aren't getting messed around. It's too late to move them now. They're going to have to stay where they are. I think the best idea would be to put up a net, but how feasible that is, it's not up to us. Ben, Johnny, do either of you have anything to add to it?
I think on the point of the idea of moving the fans, obviously in theory, like you said, it can't happen this season anyway. But in theory, you bring them down to the bottom, well, then they're not above anyone to chuck stuff down. Which, okay, yeah, in theory, that makes perfect sense. But then you've got a couple of other issues. Is that one, they're then obviously right next to, separated a little bit, but next to the home fans. So if any bother was going to kick off, then you've got sort of another angle of, not attack, but, another sort of means by which stuff can escalate to think about and steward and police and take care of. But also, it's not like we're the only stadium in England that has away fans above the home fans. St James's Park, just up the road, as much as we don't get on, they've got away fans, right up in the gods above home fans, and they don't have issues with flares and bottles coming down every week. There's plenty of stadiums where it happens without issue. So then you've got to raise the question of, well, why is it happening here? Not on a regular basis, but far too often to be comfortable. And, like Gary said, Coventry themselves are repeat offenders. So, maybe we've just been unlucky in the sense that we've happened to come across clubs on various occasions recently who have that element in the fan base. I don't know. I couldn't speak to, the behaviour of the whole fan bases, but I just think it seems strange that it's become an issue, particularly at the Stadium of Light. Is it because we've got such a big ground and big capacity in lower divisions? It sort of hypes up the element in other fan bases to think, oh, it's a big day out, let's take it a bit too far, or I don't know what it is, but I just think moving the fans and stuff like that, it seems like an extreme solution for what should really be an isolated problem. Now, obviously, when safety's the concern, so whatever it is that they decide, it's got to be taken with that in mind, which, if they do end up moving fans, then fair enough. But I think I echo, Dom, what you said, that a net, in theory, to me, seems like the best idea. I just wonder why it's even necessary, why the Stadium of Light all of a sudden. I don't have an answer. It's just something that it seems strange to have come out of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, you got anything to add to it?
Yeah, I think I saw something on Twitter when it's saying that the under 16s, they don't get searched on their way in. So that's how they're thinking that all this stuff's getting brought into the ground, the bottles and the flares and everything. But it begs belief really that someone wants to come to a football match and want to throw something off a stand and try and physically harm other people, just for a laugh, or it could just been a drunken thing. You just don't know, do you? But I think hopefully it doesn't go that far. But if someone does get seriously injured, then something will have to be done very, very quickly. But obviously, fingers crossed that nothing happens. But we know there's a lot of young families with kiddies down there, and that's something that really needs to be given some good thought. So Well done, Detective Gary, on your good work.
I haven't finished yet, by the way, Ben. I'm still
wow.
waiting for.
Oh,
Cool.
Well, I've sent another note back to the EFL, basically asking what they're going to do about Coventry's statement, and also about publicly coming out and saying what they're going to do if there's any repeat from Coventry or anybody else. Again, they've just got to back up their previous statements with action. So, by the way, I don't expect it'll get anywhere, but now I've got somebody's email address. I'm not intending on leaving him alone until I've had a few more words. Let's put it that way. No, I'm just the club may have to fork out for a net. It seems almost an inevitability about that, but yeah, I just expect more from other clubs. There seems to be this theory that it's the responsibility of the hosting team for the safety of fans. One of the things I found out the other day was the Coventry fans were accompanied by some members of West Midlands Police, who then went back to Coventry and they must do a post-match report, and they reported it was a successful day without incident or words to that effect. And again, what's going on here? Who's been truthful and who's actually saying, "Come on, we're trying to improve behaviour of football fans in grounds," and they've just got to back it up with actions. I'm sick of all the words and people not actually following stuff through that they say they're going to do. So we'll see where it ends up.
well, the truth will tripping over my own tongue. Yeah, the truth will inevitably come out. If you want some more AFL exclusives, FansReact Friday. It's the only place to be, isn't it? We'll touch upon Bristol City tomorrow, while we still have ages to talk about. Johnny, I'll start with you. Is there any changes to the team you'd make? How do you think it'll go down there? Do you think it's going to go well? Do you think we'll play better than we did on Sunday, or do you think that it might take some time to adapt to the league?
It'll definitely take time to adapt. I think that's sort of going to have to be a given. We'll have to just take it in our stride this season that there'll be setbacks, there'll be games where we start slow, there'll be, we'll get some poor results, we'll go on a poor run of form at some point. It's all going to happen. We have to accept that we want to be a mid-table team this season. I'd rip your hand off for mid-table. And with that, you don't get the sort of momentum steamrolling runs we went on at the back end of last season. With that in mind, I don't know if I'd change the personnel so much in the team, because I think it was a pretty strong lineup. And I expect a similar sort of challenge, I think, from Bristol City, not necessarily in terms of play style, but in the sense that they're also sort of an established, decent, mid-table to pushing on championship team. So it's not like we're going to one of the top 5 or 6 in the league and we're going to have to put men behind the ball. I think we can afford to be a little bit adventurous, a little bit more expansive at times. So I'd quite like to see, I can't remember who said before, talking about Pritchard and Embleton together. I'd stick with that in the midfield. I was surprised not to see Roberts start against Coventry. And I thought he showed a couple of decent flashes when he came on, but I think having that extra body who can operate more centrally will definitely do us good, especially going away from home. We didn't have the majority of the ball against Coventry. We won't have the majority of the ball against Bristol City because they are a decent side, but they blow very hot and cold. I think if you look at the sort of runs and the results that they get over the last season or so, particularly with while Pearson's been manager, I think, I can't remember the exact statistic. Again, I heard it off this guy on the other podcast before, but I think they scored maybe it's like the most amount of goals outside the top 6 or something. I can't remember, but basically they score a lot of goals, but they concede a lot of goals as well. So they're not a kind of relentless, grind you down outfit. If they're on the day, they'll cause us big problems and we'll have to be prepared to come out maybe getting beat. But if they're not particularly on the day and we turn up and put in a performance that we did in the first half against Coventry over the majority, we've got a big chance of coming away with 3 points. So it's another one that's tough to call, but I'd put the same team. I'd just like to see us be a little bit less defensive with substitutions. I thought the one criticism I'd make of Neil was taking Embleton off. Don't know what the reason was. Maybe he was tired, maybe a little niggle or just tactical. Don't know what it was. But I thought we just lost an element of being able to hang on to the ball, which then forced us back. And then obviously we've ended up conceding the equaliser. I would speaks to the squad depth issues as well, to be fair, because we don't have loads of options. But I'd like to see, ideally, same first half, and I'd like to see us carry it on the second half, transpose the game from last weekend over there tomorrow. But overall, I'd take a point again. I wouldn't change too much, and I'd just keep faith in the same lads who we've seen so far. But, tough one to call.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when you think about past visits and past games with Bristol City, they're historically not one of the easiest teams to beat for Sunderland. Obviously, the Bristol game last time we were in the Championship, how we came away with a point still feels like robbery nearly 5 years later.
There's loads of good in the end of that season, like.
Oh, yes. Well, we can thank Netflix for that. Ben, I'll ask you the same questions. How do you think the game's going to go tomorrow?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a tough game. First game away from home in the Championship. I feel Bristol City will probably fancy themselves. I think we can have a good go at these. But I think the start is has been quite crucial. I think with Neil, sort of the way we've started playing, if we start well and score in the first 15 minutes, usually it bodes us pretty well for the rest of the match. But look, there's not going to be any easy games in the Championship. I think we can either go to Norwich and get a 2-1 win, or we could play the likes of maybe Huddersfield. They're saying that they're going to be down the wrong end this season, and we'll get beat 4-0 at home. So it just depends on the day, really. But they're a good mid-table Championship team. It's going to be tough. I'd like to see a bit of Sims, ideally. I don't know whether Neil might change the shape or sort of tactic wise, or it might go with two up front. But then obviously you sacrifice Pritchard, don't you? So I don't think he'll do that. But I was surprised he didn't come on against commentary anyway. I thought Ross looked pretty tired, sort of 10, 15 minutes to go. I would have thought, just, bring him on for 10 minutes. He's a big lad, try and go for the win. But, there's plenty of ifs and buts, aren't there, but Neil, he knows what he's doing. He's no mug. So, whatever 11 he puts out there, he knows that they're going to do a job. So, no, hoping for a win, but I'll take another draw.
Yeah, I think especially in such a difficult division as the Championship, you're not going to be stupid and say like, oh, let's just go out for a run. You'll take a point where you can get, whether that be in threes or just on its own. You will take a point in this division. Gary, if you're there, what do you think? How do you think it's going to go? I'm not quite sure if he is there though. He's
I can
just
see
still.
him, but he's not moving.
He makes a great mannequin, doesn't he?
He does. Just while we're waiting for Gary to come back, I think it's worth mentioning as well. I think not many people sort of realise, certainly where I was sat at the ground, that you can actually make 5 subs in the Championship and the Premier League. So a lot of people around me, when Coventry brought the triple change on in the second half, were going, well, hang on a minute, haven't they already made a substitution at this point? You can't bring 3 on. But obviously, you can make 5 subs in 3 batches now, can't you? Just to add on, like what Ben said before about wanting to see Sims come on when Stuart was looking a bit tired. I think especially when you can make the 5 changes, you do sort of sometimes think, well, why not? But you're not risking anything, are you? Especially a like-for-like forward change. So yeah, I just thought it's. I agreed with you there. I would like to see a bit of Ella Sims, because he does look like a good prospect.
Yeah, I actually agree with both of these. It would be nice to see Sims have a little bit of a run out, whether that be starting or on the bench. I think he's going to go for the same team as well. We'll have to see what's going on with Mr. Pearson. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but I'll ask you both quickly. What quick prediction? Why not, Ben? I'll start with you.
Do you want me head's prediction and me heart's prediction first?
Oh, that old chestnut. That's my line, that.
Well, if I've got my mildly intelligent footballing brain on, I'll probably go for 2-1 Bristol City. But hopefully, I always like to be optimistic. So, we could turn up and be 3-0 up within 40 minutes and we'll just see the game out. But no, 2-1 either way. 2-1 either way. But hope it's for us.
As do I. Johnny?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ben needs some surgery to get that fence out from up his backside. Making predictions that. Well, do you know what I reckon, Dom? They might win, we might draw, or we might win. No, but seriously, I think this season we'll see a lot of tight games, whether it's for us or against us. So, like Ben said, 2-1 either way. I think if there's going to be a winner, it's only going to be by probably 1 goal, because I think Neil's quite good at setting up a side to be, pragmatic and not so much defensive, but quite solid. I don't see us overcommitting too often to leave gaps, but equally I don't see us creating too much to the point where we sort of blow certainly Bristol City tomorrow, or really most teams in the league away. I don't see us racking up too many 3-0s, 4-0s, whatever. I think I'm going to say a 1-1 draw, but I don't know if that might even be slightly with my heart, that one, because it's the kind of game where we've got a decent result first game. We're going, maybe we'll do all right, and then it'd be very sudden to turn up and just limp to like a 1-0 loss or something like that. So I think I might have to be. I'm usually quite positive. I think I might have to be a bit negative and say I'd like to see us get a 1-1, but I could see us getting beat 1-0 or 2-1. I don't think they're a side to be underestimated, that's for sure.
See, I'm quietly confident about it. I think that, as much as they say, it is too early in the season to read any team like a puck. But we'll just, I don't know, there's something about our team where I think we could either, like you say, we could be 3-0 up in the space of half an hour, or we could just implode on ourselves. But quietly, I'll say very quietly, I think we might win maybe it's like a smash and maybe it's not smash and grab, but like 1 goal either very early on or on the stroke of half time. I think we might just 1-0, simple as you like. But obviously, we'll just have to say quick look at the chat while we're waiting for Gary, if he ever does come back from the abyss. Acacia's with us now. I hope you're enjoying your time down under. James Whale is here. DJ Sizzler still here. Honey95 still here. Everyone's still here. It's what you love to see. Alan Robinson. Hope I'm wrong, but Bristol City 2, Sunderland 1. I mean, to be fair, you can see it going either way, can't you? Whilst we still have time, why don't we look at some unpopular opinions? The other week, I tweeted out on the Fans React Twitter for your unpopular Sunderland opinions. Johnny, as you tweeted one, I'll let you start with yours.
So my unpopular opinion was that Winchester and O'Nien are perfectly serviceable midfield options in a championship squad. We don't need to sign another centre midfielder. I think we only need another couple of signings, full-back striker, and I think we'll be all right. Admittedly, O'Nien shown in his cameo on Saturday wasn't the ideal way to start backing up me hot take. Yeah. But I do still think that whilst if we want to have any attempt at kicking on, we should bring in a centre midfielder. I think to stay up and have that, lower mid-table consolidation that would, I think we'd all take it if you offered it us right now. Stay up relatively comfortably, not really being a massive scrap till the final day, fingers crossed. I think O'Nien and Winchester are absolutely fine options. Look at the centre midfield, people who can play there. We've got obviously Neil and Evans who started. We've got O'Nien, we've got Winchester. We've got Matete, who didn't actually make the bench, which I was surprised about. Embleton can play deeper there. Pritchard can, if needs be, sit a bit deeper. So I do think we've got enough there to see us through the season. Now, like the pinned comment we can see right now says, O'Nien's a squad player, not a starter. Yes, I would not be starting him in centre midfield through this season if we could help it at all. But I think a player like him, I see a lot of people slag him off, and I'm unabashedly a paid-up member of the Luke O'Nien fan club. I've got my blinkers on. Yes, Dom. Yes. But I think he gets a lot of unfair stick because people look at him, and because he smiles a lot and he runs about and he works hard, people kind of think that's all he is. But first of all, they're good things to have in a squad. And second of all, he's put in a lot of good performances for us in all sorts of different positions: centre half, right back, wing back, centre midfield. He's popped up with goals now and then in League One, which we haven't had from midfielders all that often. I just think, there'd be a lot of teams in the sort of bottom 8, sort of bottom third of the Championship, who would if you offer them Luke O'Nien for free and on the presumably relatively low wage that he's on, they'd say yes, thank you very much, take him in a heartbeat, add him in the 25, happy days, get on with the season. So I just don't see the clamour to get rid of him. And I see people saying, get rid of Winchester, get rid of this player, that player. I think, why would you get rid of them? They're already here. They've shown they're good enough to get into a, top 6 to win in the playoffs League One squad, which is only just below the bottom of the Championship. Why get rid? You don't want to add more, you don't want to add more incomings needed to an already, what is shaping up to be quite a, relatively expensive for a newly promoted League One team Championship transfer window. I just don't see why you'd want to be adding to that by getting rid of people who are already here and can do a job. And I actually find myself disagreeing with Alex Neil when he said that we wanted 4 or 5 more in. When he said that, I don't think we need as many as that. But obviously, as the manager, he's going to want as many people to come in and improve the squad as he can. So I'm sorry to disagree with Alex Neil. He's a football manager, and I'll sit and talk about us on Friday nights. But yeah, I don't think we're as drastically bad in that department as some would have you believe.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. I think if we got maybe 3 more through the door, then that's like the cherry on top. I think we've done relatively well for the position that we're in. I wasn't personally expecting everyone to jump at the gun to join Sunderland purely because we're back in this Championship and we're a big club. You do have to put into perspective that we came through the playoffs, so statistically we are the worst promoted team out of the 3 due to how low down the table we finished. But I think with the people we have brought in, we've done relatively well so far. And with O'Nien, myself also a part of the Luke O'Nien fan club. I might be in contention for leader of the Luke O'Nien fan club these days, but I think he's just a breath of fresh air to have around the squad. I do agree that he's not a starter in this division, I don't think. He's one of those people where you look at that, he does his job when he needs to, but I don't think he ever going to get, apart from maybe his cups, he's not going to get that opportunity to start. He's just someone you need in the squad to bring on in the second half, just calm it down, whether that be snapping someone's ankles or not. You just have to see what kind of the tempo of the game is. Like this comment says, O'Nien would be lucky to survive 90 minutes. In the Championship, I would say I have to agree. Just he gets the club, don't get me wrong, but I think there is a lot better options to start the game with. And if he tried to use his right foot, he would have a nosebleed. There, I've seen another one in the comments. Here we go. Unpopular opinion, Matete is absolutely rubbish. Ben, discuss.
I don't think rubbish. I think he looks very raw. I'd probably put him on this sort of the same level as Jack Diamond. Sort of.
Whoa! So you do think he's absolutely rubbish?
That's slander. That
Well,
Poorkin
they're
as a
both
family, you know.
in the sense that they're both very sort of raw, if you know what I mean. They've not quite got that nice finessed finish, you know, like a few of our other players do. I could see him probably going out on loan, to be honest. Maybe get, I don't know, maybe a season in League One or maybe a top team there to be consistently playing. The only thing that sort of about him was that he didn't make the bench for the game with Coventry. Don't know if that was injury related or, you know, tactical or something like that. But he needs to be playing. He needs that confidence as well. I think he's still a young lad at the end of the day. Was I impressed with him in pre-season? No. But I think he could certainly add something. You know, we obviously bought him for a reason. He's obviously been picked from this model that Speakman's got. And he seems he could be a player to benefit us in the future. So we'll wait and see on that one. I do just want to quickly touch on this sort of Winchester 09 thing as well, very quickly. If anyone did hear it, I did the phone in with Alex Neil, and I asked him.
Oh, here he goes. It's all he's been talking about the last week.
and I asked him, I said, Alex, what is the deal with playing players out of their ideal position? I said, you know, we know players can do, but would you not be more favourable to stick players in their proper positions, i.e., you know, Triune to be playing at right back instead of Gucci and Winchester in midfield? And he did Winchester. He didn't say much about Hume, but Winchester, he doesn't see him as a midfielder, which is baffling because for me, I think he'd be quite a decent player to put in midfield for the odd games. You know, if we need a bit more strength, a bit more size in the midfield, which I still think we do. I still think we need, you know, a little bit of an enforcer in that midfield. But, you know, we know what they're like. They're still, you know, good players. You know, you look at Leicester when they won the league, there was only two or three select standouts in that squad, but they played so well together as a team. They were able to get the job done. And I think these fellas can do that. They've been with us for a while. They know how it is with Neil. So, yeah, interesting. But I can see where James is coming from. Absolutely. But I want to be a little bit more optimistic about him, should we say.
Yeah, I think especially during pre-season, he hasn't looked the most convincing of the bunch. I think perhaps we'll just have to wait and see because last season, I thought he looked kind of impressive in the games that he did play. He did lose his temper sometimes, but I thought overall he was someone good to have in the squad. Perhaps we might find out that the championship is maybe a step up to him. We'll just have to see how he gets on in this division to see before we start just slandering him over pre-season. We need to obviously give everyone a fair amount of time. Johnny, what's your opinions on the whole Matete situation?
It's just puzzling, really. Because I remember I'm pretty sure when we signed him, I can't remember exactly who it was who said this or where I read this quote, but I thought it was in the club statement, like that accompanies the signing. I'm sure they mentioned like we've signed him because he's very highly rated, he's young, and we believe that he can develop and move with us up the leagues. Effectively, I can't remember, exactly what was said or in how many words, but I'm pretty sure the point was made that he was very highly rated at it was Fleetwood, I think, wasn't it? We signed him from very highly rated at Fleetwood. They weren't too happy to see him go. I think we had to pay a fairly decent amount of money, and then didn't really establish himself in the team in League One. Got a few games here and there, but certainly wouldn't have been in most people's kind of first 11, I don't think. And obviously we've come to the Championship, and yes, he's young and he's definitely raw, like Ben said. But to not even make the squad when we have invested a decent sum of money in him, and kind of made the point of fits the model, young, improve with us up the divisions. it feels like this is the season more than any in the Championship to be able to give these younger players a go, like Dan Ballard coming in, like Anthony Patterson in goal, Dan Neil coming back into the team and starting, which I think caught a lot of people off guard. Feels like the perfect opportunity for these younger players to really have a good go of Championship football, where there isn't that pressure of having to win games every week because we're looking up the table and need to finish in the top 2 or the top 6 like there was in League One, where even though it's a lower standard, I think it can take a toll on younger players. Like we saw with Callum Doyle, I think, and Cirkin at points last season, where I feel like they sort of struggled at times with the weight of expectation. So it's just strange to have a player who, I don't have too many strong opinions on Matete, to be fair, personally. I feel like I haven't seen him enough to really judge him, which is strange considering he's played for us for, 8 months or whatever now. But yeah, I just strange to not see him in the squad. I don't know whether that speaks to how much Neil rates him or doesn't rate him, but if he doesn't go out on loan, I'd be shocked, to be honest, at this point, because if you're not going to put him in the 18, he's got to have game time to develop. And if it's not going to be with us, it should be somewhere else, because he is our player, and him getting minutes is only going to benefit him and us. So yeah, just a strange one. I don't get it.
Yeah, well, only time will tell. See if there's anything behind the scenes we don't know about with Matete and Neil. Well, I guess we'll never know. Here's a good one. Here's the one that started most. Well, I thought it was unpopular at the time, but it turns out that a lot of fans feel the same. Trey Hume, I said, I put this tweet out obviously the other week. I said Trey Hume should be given a chance on Sunday. Obviously, he wasn't. I still stand by this, that I think Trey Hume should be our starting right back instead of a winger. But that is purely based off in pre-season. I liked what I've seen from him. I think that in the minutes that he was given at Hartlepool and at Dundee United, the 2 games that I actually saw him in the flesh, I thought he more than stood his own. I thought there was even times where he was completely unmarked. He would be from our box to their box as quick as a flash. I thought there's some attacking instincts in the boy. I like him. I like what I see from him, and the fact that he's not getting minutes and we're playing people who aren't even in his position on the day. It's just mind-boggling to me. Obviously, I'm not Alex Neil. I'm not the man who makes the decision, so he clearly has some idea of why Gooch is there or why Winchester's there. But to me, I think Trey Hume should be given the chance. Yes, he's inexperienced, but you can't get experience if you're not thrown in the deep end. Johnny, what's your opinion on Hume Gate, let's call it?
We can't have another Hume Gate, not after Denver, for God's sake. No, I agree. I think must be a bit demoralising, I think, for him to see, as well as Gooch played against Coventry, and as much as I rate Gooch as a footballer, and I like him, it must be demoralising to see somebody who's very clearly not a right back starting ahead of you, who is a right back. And again, similar to Matete, we've invested a decent sum of money in him, brought him over from Ireland. It's sort of underrated, I think, in transfers when you've got a young player making a big move out of his home country, coming down here to join us, and he's a few years younger than the likes of Matete and that sort of player. So it's more reasonable to see him given a slower introduction in the team. But again, to not be starting when there isn't another recognised right back at the club, it's not ideal. It speaks to the fact that I think we can all see that Neil doesn't see him as a Championship first team option as it stands, which is fair enough. The guy knows the Championship, he knows our squad now. So if that's his opinion, then fair play. But like you, I've seen the times I've seen Hume play. I think he's got a bit about him, a little bit of pace. Got an eye for going forward, which, especially if you're going to play sort of, it was wing backs in name, but obviously it was not orthodox sort of right and left wing backs against Coventry. But if you're going to play full backs who've got a license to get out and get up the pitch, then I don't see why you wouldn't give him a go. And similar, like I said with Matete, if he isn't going to get the minutes, then I think ideally you'd like to see him loaned out. But having said that, he is still the only recognised right back at the club. Well, Niall Huggins, but he doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned right now because we've literally never seen him. So maybe we can't be loaning him out and leaving ourselves short. But yeah, again, just less of a confusion than Matete because he's obviously going to be more raw. But yeah, I was disappointed not to see him give it a goal. But Gooch in the end lays on our goal. So
yeah, I was going to say he did. As much as a slanderer, we did give an assist.
Yeah, I mean, I love Gooch, but all I was saying before the game to everyone who would listen was, I'm not sure about starting with Gooch at right back. Like, I'm not sure how much I like that one. And then he goes and skins his man and puts the cross in for Clark. So, you know,
beggars can't be chasers, I suppose.
Yeah, it was 11 or 12 minutes into the game. It's pretty sharp at making us eat me words there. So well played, Lyndon. You win 1-0.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, before I get on to Ben, who is barking mad as it seems, I'll quickly say the one thing you want from your players, especially your young players, is just to give it their all. And I think Hume is one of the people, especially at Hartlepool, where overall on a team performance, I thought we played abysmal. All you want from your players is to wear their heart on the sleeve and give it their all. And I think Hume, especially out of all the young ones, I think he has arguably the most drive of them all because he just kept going and knocking on the door of even scoring again down Hartlepool. He wasn't afraid to put a tackle in. He wasn't afraid to try and beat his man and keep possession. He wasn't just looking for the easy cop-out pass, so there's no pressure on him. And I think that's just what people like, and that's not the minimum, but it's one of the things that you do just ask from your players. Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I think from our pretty bang average pre-season, I know it's only minutes, isn't it? But nothing really gave me a lot of hope for the season, really, other than Hume. You know, I thought in the games that I watched him, I thought he was probably the best player in pre-season for us, without a doubt. I mean, you think about, what is he, 19 or 20 odds, out of the younger players we've got, Matete, Diamond, he certainly looks like sort of probably the one for me that would be thrown in the championship first. But he's got ability, he likes to get forwards, seems, relatively good defensively. So I would like to see more of him. I think the only thing with Gooch is, he's got that bit of experience, hasn't he? Which Neil loves so much, as what we've seen since he came in. So, I mean, it depends. Maybe I'm hoping that, the Carabao Cup game we got against Sheffield Wednesday, we might be able to see a few more of these players. Maybe like, Matete might even get a start. O'Nien, maybe Sims might play. Hume, these sort of fringe players that you think, go out there, put yourself a good performance, and they could become undroppable. So it's certainly one of them. But I really would. I'd like to see a lot of him because Gooch, he had a good game. Don't get me wrong, but when he's poor, he can be very poor, and he gets found out too defensively quite a lot. So
and there's a lot of very good wingers in this division.
There is. And
like oh yeah, I was going to say there's players in this division, especially attackers, who are Premier League standard. You see it every season. They either get poached by Premier League clubs or they rip the Championship to bits and then do well the next season when they go up. And those kind of players running at Lyndon Gooch does not fill us with confidence.
Yeah, he's going to get found out, and he did get found out a couple of times. On that right-hand side, it was, I thought this could have just been, terrorising. And to be fair, commentary knew that, and the majority of their play was going down that right-hand side. Sirkin had a relatively quiet game. He just went about his business. But constantly, Ballard was coming over to help Gooch out, and teams are just going to do that because they know that that's a massive, massive weak point for us. So, it only needs to go to the likes of, Norwich or, maybe even Watford, one of these top teams, maybe Burnley, you could put, we could get found out and it could get very ugly. So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
We will see indeed. On that bombshell, let's call it. I think that is a nice place to end tonight's stream. I believe there's this little league starting in the English division. I don't really know where. It's just insignificant league. You've never heard of it.
Couple of teams down south just having a little kickabout in one of their backyards.
Yeah, nothing important. But I think it would be nice to support grassroots after all. But thank you very much, everyone, for coming along, that you came along. Let's just have one last check of the live chat. James Whale, Akish, Cameron Jews, David Joblin, anyone that we missed. Ben Carr still in the chat. It's just a man of many talents. He's so versatile. Might as well call him Lugo9, SAFC Ted, Honey95, Morgan Pickford. Everyone, thank you for coming along. Sorry if I've missed you out. We hopefully will be back this time next Friday. The roster might be different. Who knows? It might just be us three again. Gary might one day reappear from the abyss. We'll just have to see. Thank you very much all for watching, and we will catch you later.